Hello again, and this is part 3 of our GAMA review of highlights of all the different things we saw at GAMA. This part we're going to be talking about Disney's Lorcana. Now, Disney's Lorcana is a trading card game made by Ravensburger, who's been making board games for a while. This is their first foray into the trading card game realm. But I had a chance to demo it. It was absolutely fantastic. So I kind of want to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what it looks like, how the game plays, so you can see how it functions and the highlights of it, right? So with Disney's Lorcana, I was worried going into it that it was going to be like an IP cash grab, right? Oh yeah, it's Disney, and then they can sell it. They don't really have to try. That is definitely not the case here. The designers of the game, one of them has this extensive background in trading card games, worked with Wizards of the Coast on Magic the Gathering, did a Digimon trading card game, plus a bunch of others, just to kind of help get them off the ground and build all these different games. So this game has that trading card game background, and it was focused on making a trading card game first, using Disney characters, not, hey, let's use Disney characters and then try to make a trading card game. They went from the trading card game side, which you can tell in the game design. How the game plays is very, very smooth and very, very quick. The games go, at least the demos did, went pretty quick with how the game functioned. But it has good depth to it. So let's talk about the game a little bit. Let's talk about the theming of it. So you are an Illumineer, and you can take magic ink and use that to bring Disney characters to life. Now, how that functions is kind of like a mana system. All right, so when you have your card, if it has a little gold flourish on the top left corner, which is the most of them, there was a couple exceptions in the decks that we had, the demo decks. But most of them had that gold flourish. You could just show the flourish and put it face down, and then that acts as your ink. Okay, and it's a permanent ink, unless something says otherwise. But what we used, it was all permanent ink. So it came down. There you go. You have one. Then if you need to, you can exert it. That's the term they use. You exert the ink and then pay for, if you have one ink, you can pay for one power card. If you had 2 inks, pay for 2 power cards. You can place a card down for ink once per turn. So there is a slowdown mechanic, so you're not going to be rushing into a bunch of big battles and a bunch of big things going on right off the bat. There is some build to it. Okay, so less Yu-Gi-Oh!, more Magic the Gathering in that style and format. How the game plays from there is there are different types of cards. So you have your character cards, which, they're Disney characters. You can understand that. You have actions, and then you had items. Those are the types of cards that were in the decks that we saw. Is there more types of cards? I don't know. But those are the ones that we saw in the demos. The Disney character cards, I want to focus on them a little bit. They're really great in the fact that they are beyond just stills from the films. They've actually were able to hire artists. Disney allowed them to do their own drawings and own takes on them. So that allows them to put a little more character in their characters. And I mean that as in, you don't just have to keep Captain Hook as Captain Hook. Okay, Captain Hook with his hook is fine, but there was also swashbuckling Captain Hook. So Hook's gone, now he has a sword attachment. Those kinds of things. So it allowed them to do some different things with it. Allows them to have beyond just the base characters themselves. They can have different versions of the base characters, which gives them a lot of ability to grow, right? Okay, there's a lot of characters out there, and then if you can do new iterations of them, that allows for even more growth within the Disney universe of cartoons. And that's how it is right now. We will see if they decide to try to expand beyond that in the future. Who knows? But right now it's sticking with the cartoons. So with the ink and how they're describing the story of the game, it fits, right? So character cards, they all have basically a attack value and life point. They had different terms for it, but that's the basic concept. And then they also will have special abilities in the bottom of the card. And then with next to special abilities, we'll have little symbols that count as lore counters. So how do you win the game? It's through these lores. Okay, you are to try to get to 20 lore. That's a big main game. Okay, we played to 10 for the demo, so that way the game would go a little bit quicker. But 20 lore is the goal, is the main thing. So you have to send your characters on quests. You would exert them. That's the term, exerting them, and then they would go on the quests. And however many of those lore symbols they had is how many lore points, lore counters you would get. When you get to 20, whoever gets to 20 first wins. All right, so you do the exertion, you get the lore. Next person's turn. They show the gold flourish, drop it down. They have another ink. So now they can tap, play a card, so on and so forth. It also has their version of summoning sickness. Okay, they call it, you have to wait for the ink to dry. So a character card that gets played can't immediately start doing things. You have to wait for a turn. Okay, so you have to play the card, wait, just like you would in Magic the Gathering. It functions, again, another slowdown, so that way the game will actually have time to develop instead of everything happen instantly like in Yu-Gi-Oh! So the game then functions from there. Next turn, show card with the gold flourish, drop it down, face down, more ink. More ink allows you to cast more powerful creatures and more characters. Sorry, not creatures. More powerful characters and actions and so on and so forth. As the game goes on, you have the ability to shift. They all have special abilities. They had a version of Scry that you'd find in Magic the Gathering. They had a version of Ward that you find in Magic the Gathering. There were a lot of MTG influences and some of the abilities and stuff that you would see. If you're not familiar with Magic the Gathering, you would still be able to play this. It gives explanations. It gives all that stuff. If you are familiar, you're going to have a little bit of a head start because you understand what the concepts are. Okay, maybe not the terminology, but definitely understand the concepts. From there, we have your action cards and then your item cards. So item cards come in and they act as like artifacts in Magic the Gathering. They act as item cards in Pokemon trading card game. They provide some sort of effect, whether it's instantaneous or long-term. They provide some sort of effect that helps the game go along, right? Okay, action cards are going to be kind of like your sorcery cards, your trainer cards and Sorcery Magic the Gathering trainer cards and Pokemon trading card game. They come, they hit, they do their thing, they leave, right? So different types of actions, different kinds of things you can have people do. In the game I demoed, I had an Aurora deck versus a Maleficent deck. And Maleficent was able to play sing a song. So one of the actions was a song, and that completely changed the tempo of the game of what was happening, just like it would in a Disney film. Like, oh, song, there we go. All right, things was going on. That made for some fun. The actions really did make changes. There was draw capabilities, there was wards and power-ups, and all these kinds of things that they did as the game went on. Character, not creature, I keep trying to say that. Character, it's not really combat, they call it challenging. What's interesting about this particular game is that you can only challenge something that has been exerted. Okay, so your card has to be unexerted, and then you exert it to challenge. When you do that, you do your combat, you do your challenging, you take your attack versus the defense. Now, this is going to be more like Pokemon. The damage that's been done is going to stay. Okay, so it doesn't just go away at the end. You can't just be higher and knock it out. It stays. So if you can chip away at a character that's continuously being exerted. With that said, if a person has an ability that activates whether it's exerted or not, if they leave it unexerted, there's really not much you can do to it unless you have an action card that allows you to do something. So that's kind of a gameplay strategy, right? Do you exert? Do you not exert? It provides a little bit of depth more than just, I'm trying to race you to get as many people exerted as possible. If you exert, that opens you up for challenges. If you don't exert, well, then you're not doing quests, and you're not getting those lore counters to win the game. So there's a balance there. What do you do? When do you play? How do you act? It provided for a very good depth of how the game functioned very quickly. But it also, like I said, there were slowdown mechanics to let it build. So it was extremely fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is coming out in August. I've put in pre-orders already. I'm going to put in some more to try to get as many as I can. So that way we will have a full stock when it releases, and that way we can enjoy the game when it comes out. Because I thoroughly enjoyed being able to play it with the Disney Easter eggs in it. as a game, it played well. The Easter eggs was just a nice added bonus of how the songs worked and the descriptions on the cards and all those kinds of things was a lot of fun. So that was a great game. I really enjoyed being able to take part of it, and I'm hopefully you all will enjoy it too when it gets here in August. But that's it for part 3. We will have one more part here to talk about different things that's coming soon to the store. Some of the deals and contracts we were able to make, up and coming. So great things coming on the way. So please stay tuned for part 4 of our GAMA update.